Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. It's been a minute. It has been a minute. I do apologize. I have been quite sick for about the past month or so. I'm not 100% better yet, but it's better than it was. So we'll leave it at that. But I wanted to get out here and I wanted to make a video for you guys today because one of the things that I really want to do with this channel is I want to teach people how to do better investigations, or just to do investigations, period. Because there's a lot of stuff that you're not seeing online. And that's okay. It's not stuff that you would see online, just because it's the boring behind the scenes stuff that nobody's going to watch anyway. Okay. But I know a lot of people will learn from YouTube channels, TV shows, things like that, how to do their investigations. And there's a lot of stuff that you have to do before you investigate, after you investigate, during the investigation, etc., etc. And I want to make sure that we go over all of that because you're not going to see any of that stuff. And like I said, rightfully so, it's boring crap that nobody wants to see. A lot of it is very, very time consuming. Doesn't make for great TV or great YouTube. But since that's the goal of this place, that's what we're going to do. I'll try to not make it boring.
Sure, Jan.
How's that? Okay. So, your first lesson, I guess this is the first lesson, situational awareness. I want to bring that up because that is a big thing that I don't see a lot of people discussing. Being aware of your surroundings, being aware of the situation, and what all that entails. Because it entails a lot, and it entails a lot more than you think. You have to take a lot of things into consideration, and it's a lot of stuff that, again, you don't ever get mentioned. So, I am at a local cemetery, and we are going to use that cemetery to discuss some of the awareness. So, let's go ahead and get into that. So, this part of your awareness should definitely be done prior to going out on an investigation. You want to know, how is your equipment, how is your vehicle, and how are you? Now, like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, I have been having some anemia issues. Because of such, should I be out doing paranormal investigations? In my opinion, no. And I haven't been doing them. I haven't done a paranormal investigation in a while because I haven't been feeling well. With anemia, I've got lightheadedness, I've got some fatigue, things like that. And that could definitely sway things that I think I see or hear, personal experiences, and even possibly what I'm hearing when I'm doing my editing. So for now, I have to kind of set that aside. And I have done so. And I highly recommend that you take a look at what you're feeling. And you have to be honest with yourself. You can't sit there and go, well, I don't really feel great, but I should be fine for an investigation. No, if you aren't feeling well, don't. If you're under the influence of something like alcohol or drugs, don't. Okay, I know I've heard a lot of people say things like, oh, well, if you drink alcohol, you're opening yourself up to demons and spirits and stuff. I don't know if that's true or not, and neither do they. At the end of the day, we can't prove yet that ghosts exist. So we can't turn around and say, oh, well, alcohol and drugs will make you more susceptible. If it's not true, then it's not true. But if it is true, it's dangerous. So why would you? Don't. So the next thing, how is my car? My car is not well. We had a hurricane that came through. I think at the time that it hit us, it was a tropical storm. I could be wrong. I don't remember. It was Hurricane Debbie. And in the process of that, I ended up with a flooded car. So this car, it's fine. It filled up with water on the inside. The exterior is fine. All the mechanical stuff that makes it run is fine. But the interior did fill up with water. I found it 2 days after the storm. And then I had to do all the stuff with the insurance company. So there was a lot of moisture in here for a long time. Probably about 2 weeks, there was some moisture. And there was visible mold.
You can hold so much mold in this thing.
So there's always an issue when mold is involved. And you will see here, I'll put it here and you can pause to read. These are the kinds of mold that could have formed in my car and the different things that could have been caused by that. Okay. Little issues you'll run into with mold. And mold is going to be a huge, huge thing. You need to be aware of mold. You need to be aware of what kind you're going to run into no matter where you're at. Because every investigation, mold has to be a consideration. But go ahead and pause to read those. Okay, now, with that being said, I did have a mold abatement done on my car. Guy came out to my house where my car was parked out in the driveway, and he did an entire interior deep clean and mold abatement. It took multiple hours to do. It cost an absolute ass ton of money, and that's all well and good. Is the car still in good condition? No. I have not had the interior cabin filter replaced yet. So when you get into my car, you can smell like a musty odor. Okay. And there was also a couple of spots that I'm not sure that there isn't still mold. So because I can't identify mold, I'm going to have somebody else come out and take a look at it. And it's in a couple of little hidden places like this. These are the tracks for the back seat of my car. I don't know if that's mold or not, because I don't know enough about mold on site to be able to tell you if it is or not. But knowing that there has been an issue in the car recently with mold, I have to immediately assume that it is. Is it enough to affect me? Is it enough to make a paranormal investigation kind of not the right thing to do? Maybe not, but maybe it is. So because of that, I would immediately turn around and say, if I'm going to do a paranormal investigation, if I personally am healthy and I want to go out and do a paranormal investigation, I need to not use this car as transport. Either need to go with somebody else, I need to borrow a car, I need to rent a car, whatever the case may be. But again, you still need to be aware, does that car have mold in it? You don't know unless you find out. Now, the other thing that you have to be aware of is your actual surroundings where you're going to investigate. And again, mold. I am currently at a cemetery. Now, depending on where you're going, whether it's a location or anything like that, you have to consider, if it's an abandoned building, they've got their own kinds of mold. If it's a cemetery, it's got its own kind of mold. If it's a place that's being taken care of, because a lot of these locations have been renovated, they are being taken care of and maintained, there's still a mold issue. So you do have to take that into consideration. Is there a possibility that there's black mold somewhere? Is there a possibility that there's some other kind of mold I can't pronounce? Yeah, there is. And it's definitely something to be aware of and know what it could affect. And when you're doing your investigation, you need to take that into consideration, because obviously you're not going to be able to have a home inspection done on every single location that you go to. But you have to take it into consideration when you're trying to decide if something is evidence or not. Is it really evidence, or could there possibly be a mold issue? And I know a lot of people don't want to talk about it, but unfortunately, it's a thing that you need to talk about. Okay, so everything has checked out and you are well versed in your mold. You're well versed in other issues that you could possibly run into. What do you do once you're at the location? Okay, well, we are at a cemetery right now. So what are some of the considerations that you have to take into account when you're at a cemetery? First and foremost, are there any services going on? Now, when I came in, I did drive. This is not a huge cemetery, so when I drove around, I did check. There are no services going on, but there are people here visiting graves. I saw at least 2 cars. I don't see anybody parked out in front of the mausoleum. I'm not going into the mausoleum right now, but I don't see that there's anybody in there. Okay, that's an issue. Have I ever been in this mausoleum before? Yes, I have. So I'm aware of the issues that I would have going into this mausoleum to begin with. And a huge issue at this particular mausoleum is that it makes weird noises. It does, in fact, make a lot of weird noises, and especially with weather conditions. Right now, we've got a little bit of wind. We've got some heat. It is a little warm, but it's not horrible. Let's go ahead and take a look at the cemetery itself. Okay, I am at the back of the mausoleum. This is the mausoleum here, and I am at the back of it. Okay, there's an entrance over here. That's where people would drive in. So what all exactly are we seeing that we need to take into consideration? Well, the first thing, there's some wind. I don't know if my microphone is picking it up, but we are also in the flight path of an airport. These are things that need to be taken into consideration. Why do we care about the airport? Well, obviously because of noise. You're also going to have a little bit of an issue if you're using an EMF reader. These are things to take into consideration. Okay. Now, up over this hill here is where the cemetery starts. You can kind of see some of the flowers. You can see a trash can. There's a bench, things like that. What else do I need to take into consideration at this place? Okay, time's up. That is where they store construction equipment, things like that. I'm assuming that's the stuff back there that they use to actually dig the graves. I'm not seeing any activity back there. Okay, fantastic. Now, let's go take a look at the cemetery. Okay, so I have moved my microphone just so that you are aware it was not attached to my person. Originally, it is now. And I am going to go ahead and take you guys on a little bit of a look-see at the cemetery itself so that we can pull out some other things that we need to take into consideration. And again, I apologize. I do not have anything to hold my phone other than my hand. There is now somebody parked at the mausoleum. There wasn't when I first got here. I'm not going to turn the camera around because I don't know if they're in the vehicle. They are not. When I first pulled in, there were two cars right up along this line here. They do not appear to be here anymore. Okay, so all's quiet here. You see those stone columns there? And here's some more. What do you see now? What's something else that we need to take into consideration here at this graveyard? Homes. And there's a major roadway. There's a major roadway there, as you can see. Not a whole lot of traffic right now because it is a Sunday. But that is a major roadway, and there is a lot of homes back here. We've got housing developments galore. Okay. Never mind the beeping. I did not put on my seatbelt because I'm still inside the cemetery. The other thing I'm going to notice is that the weather is changing. As you can see, the clouds are rather dark. We've got some rain coming in. There's one lone gravestone right there. Wow. Okay. Now you can also see through the trees homes. Here's another entrance to the roadway. Okay, and there's more homes, and there's homes over here. And when I make this left-hand turn, you'll notice homes. And what do we have here? What is this tent? This tent means that somebody is being interred. It is not currently happening, but it is something that if I was going to do an investigation here, I would need to be aware of because at some point in time, there are going to be cars here. This may already be over. It may not already be over. But I have to be aware of the fact that something is happening here because either there's going to be a family here to actually inter someone into the ground, or there's going to be workers coming in to start moving dirt and cover up the actual gravesite itself, which could put more noise and it could compromise my investigation. While this is a separate side, because this is a very bizarre cemetery, this is a different side of the cemetery, but it's still close enough to that mausoleum that any work or services that are taking place out here could cause some kind of an issue if I was doing an investigation in the mausoleum. And this cemetery is not very big, so no matter where I'm investigating in the cemetery, we're going to have that problem. I have somebody moving up behind me. I'm going to go ahead and move forward. I don't know if they are not continuing. There's a possibility that there are services that are getting ready to start. Here's more of the cemetery over here. This is an active cemetery. All these flowers tell me that there is a lot of human foot traffic here on a regular basis. This might not be the best place to investigate. Right now, there's not a whole lot of people here. And ladies and gentlemen, you've just seen the entire cemetery. They are very tightly packed, as you can see. These are the stand-up graves here as well. You can see these are very tightly packed. This is a very heavily packed cemetery. These are little mausoleums here as well. There are a lot of graves in this cemetery. So it's something that I have to take into consideration, that there is a strong possibility that I am going to run in to foot traffic and other people at some time. So I have to take that into consideration when I start hearing noises. If I hear whispering, if I hear footsteps, if I hear creaks and cracks, I have to take that into consideration. Now, that building back there that you can see, that's the mausoleum. That's the big mausoleum there. Okay, and you can take a look at that for yourself. There are, where I was parked originally, where I started this video, there were graves back there. Mausoleum graves. Okay, now inside, it's kind of cross-shaped. When you go in that front door there, you are met with a couple of filled places. Dang it, that van is moving. Okay, I have to move. But you'll go in and there are some graves right there at the opening. I'm going to go ahead and shrink this, zoom this out again. But right in the middle is where they would do the services. And then you've got two long pieces that come down either side of that door there. And there are graves there as well. There's also cabinets where you can put cremains and little displays for people. They're actually quite nice. I don't 100% feel comfortable filming those because there's a lot of photographs and a lot of personal items and things like that. So I don't feel real comfortable filming inside the mausoleum for that reason. That mausoleum makes a lot of noise. And you're going to have a lot of things that are going to depend. Weather is going to be a huge one. You can see that there are skylights on the top, kind of. You can't see that from here. There's one. There are considerations that have to be taken into account here. There are doors on the sides. The mausoleum is the same on both sides. Okay. If I remember correctly, I believe the floors are wood and the mausoleums are floor to ceiling. You do have skylights. They are on both sides and down the middle. And the walls, for what little is in there, do not reach all the way up to the ceiling, but the mausoleums themselves do. Every time I have ever been in there, this has sounded like the end of the world. Okay, there is a lot of creaking, there is a lot of cracking. It's dependent on the wind. If there's a lot of wind, you're definitely going to hear it in there. If there is any kind of humidity, you're going to hear the wood creaking and cracking as it adjusts itself. There are smells. They definitely have a bug issue in there. It seems to be mostly gnats. I haven't seen anything like cockroaches or anything like that. It is now raining. You will also hear that in there mostly because of the skylights. So if I was doing an investigation in here, there's a lot of things that would affect whether or not my evidence was viable. So what does all of this mean? Well, we've got a lot of stuff going on right now. There's rain, there's wind, there are people here. There's obviously a service that either ended or is getting ready to start. The rain will probably hold off anybody standing out there or doing any kind of work. But today would not be a good day to investigate here. There's too much natural noise from the rain and the wind. There's too many people here. So anything that I do pick up, any noises I hear, any personal experiences that I have, and possibly any EVPs that I catch or any EMF readings that I take are going to be completely invalid because there's too many people here and I can't account for them. Especially if I've got an EMF reader, you've got people coming in and out with cell phones, you've got cars, you've got airplanes, you've got all kind of electronics inside. Any orbs that I pick up obviously are going to be dust or bugs. 99.9% orbs are dust or bugs anyway, but no orbs that I picked up could even be considered. The weather itself has been strange. We're in a transition. I'm in the south. We are going from extremely hot weather to cool weather, and the humidity is very high while the temperature is low. That's going to affect the noises that are happening inside the mausoleum. This is a lot, guys. This is a lot. And there's a lot of things that you have to consider before you go in. What's happening? That's what's happening. Okay, so to have a little bit more situational awareness, we're at a different cemetery. So it's only a few minutes later. The rain has stopped, but probably not for good. And let's talk about some other considerations that we may have to take into account when you're looking at various cemeteries, because the issues at one cemetery are not going to be the issues at another cemetery. So let's take a look at what we've got here. Okay, so this is actually one of my favorites. And this is an older place. It does wrap around over here. And you will notice that this is not a cemetery. This is a graveyard. There is a difference. A cemetery is usually a standalone. The place that we were at before was a cemetery. This one is considered a graveyard because it is attached to a church. And this is an active church. And it's Sunday. That's a thing that we have to take into consideration. Now, this is a Baptist church. I don't know much about the Baptist faith, but I'm sure that they have church services on Sunday because that's usually when Christians have their services. However, it is also 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So I'm assuming all that's done. I'm not seeing any other cars in the parking lot here. I don't see anybody wandering around the cemetery. But there's a van that's parked over there that you can see. There's another parking lot over there. And now we can start discussing some of the issues that we would find here. With the graveyard itself, like I said, there's another parking lot over there. You can see where that little van is. There is another parking lot over there. On the other side of that parking lot, there is a little park for the children whose parents are members of this particular church. I don't know if there's something happening over there or not. I know that this place has camps and things like that. I don't believe it's just open randomly and to the public, but I can't see it from here, so I don't know if there's anybody over there. I don't know if it's picking up, but there is a building over there that is not a home. Okay, let me see if I can zoom in a little bit. That over there is a building, but I'm not sure that that's a home. There's something there, though, that needs to be taken into consideration. There is a basketball hoop. That means that somebody could come out and play basketball at any time. That could cause an issue with some of the video that I'm taking. When I scroll over here, I don't know if that's a home. I don't know if it has something to do with the church. I don't even know if anybody actually lives there. There are signs posted out on the front that I cannot see from here, and I am not approaching that house. It looks like on the door itself, there's actually like a no trespassing sign, but I don't know what the white sign on the post on the front porch says. So I don't know if this has something to do with the church. I don't know if it's private property. I don't know if it's currently inhabited. There are some abandoned places around here, so I don't know. So what else do I need to take into consideration if I'm looking outside of the cemetery? Well, you probably noticed directly behind me, there's a road. And when I was doing the introduction before, you can see cars coming by. This is an active road. Now, I need to know a little something about this road. So what do I know about this road that's behind me? Well, I know that if you go in that direction, it leads out onto a major road in the area that leads to the airport. So that is a busy road, and there is currently traffic on it. There's a lot of cars out there right now. That's going to affect what I pick up sound-wise. It's going to affect EMF readings. It's going to cause all kinds of noises that if they're traveling around this church or getting caught in the wind tunnel or something, they could lead me to believe that I heard something that I didn't. Okay, so that is an issue. If you go that direction, there's a lot of houses. There's a lot of construction. There's varying levels of houses. There's a trailer park over here. There are homes being built. There's standalone private property. There's a lot of homeowners associations. There is a lot happening down here. Way further down the road, there's another cemetery that's across the street from a cricket park. Yes, I said a cricket park. Why we have a cricket park, I don't know. But apparently they like it. But all that's happening down there. Now, the cricket park is a world-class cricket park. When there are games, and I know nothing about cricket, I don't know if it's cricket season, but when there are games, there is a lot of traffic heading down to that little cricket park. There are only 3 ways out of this particular road. One of them is here. One of them is just before you get to the cricket park, and then the other one is several miles down from the cricket park. So there's going to be a lot of traffic out here. That is something that I have to look at before I come to the cemetery to actually do anything with it. Directly behind me, which I don't... Okay, that's a house. You can see that there's a house back there. Okay, and slightly down the road, I think, maybe? It's pretty close. There is a historical church. There is a car pulling into the parking lot as we speak. One of the 84 million Teslas that is in this town is pulling in. I think he's pulling out. He's using it as a turnaround. But this is very, very active here. This is extremely active. So while this is a great cemetery to do some kind of an investigation at, you could get a creepy video out of this. You've got really old graves. You've got some tearjerkers because there are children's graves right here that I'm looking at. This would make a great video. I have investigated here. I have done videos here. This is a great cemetery, graveyard. This is a great graveyard. Okay, she's not leaving. She's getting out of the car. This is a great graveyard if you want to have a good historic video, if you want it to be a little bit of a creepy video. This is accessible at night. I don't necessarily think I would suggest it, but why wouldn't I suggest it? Because I know the area, and this is something that you need to take into consideration. See all those trees right there? That's a fairly wooded area. This town has been going through a lot of changes lately. There's been a lot of building, and it went from being fairly rural and heavily wooded to being a very small city. Why am I telling you that? I'm telling you that because at one point there was an enormous amount of wildlife here. That wildlife doesn't have many places to go. So places like that right back there are going to be full of wildlife. We do have coyotes, we have fox, we have bunnies, we have bobcats, we have owls, we have hawks, we have deer. There's a lot of stuff here. And you're going to have to contend with all of that at night. There's a lot of grass and plants and stuff like that for that wildlife to come out for. There are predators that are looking at all the small animals and even some of the big animals. You are a big animal. You are also going to hear a lot of twigs snapping and leaves crunching and things like that. Could it be humans? Yeah, it could. Yeah, it could. But it could also just be wildlife doing wildlife things. Now, like I said, on the other side over here, if you go down towards that direction, okay, there is a major, major road. Right across from there, there is also a mid-grade shopping center. This is a highly, highly active area. This might not be the greatest location anymore for a daytime investigation, especially during the week. This is a Sunday, so there's not as much traffic as there would be during the week. This is a very industrial area. There is a lot of traffic during the work week. There are schools everywhere. There's several schools right in the area of this. Something else you need to take into consideration, because there's going to be a lot of noise, there's going to be a lot of traffic, there's going to be a lot of yelling. Is that something you want in your video? Do you think that that's going to cause an issue with your investigation, with your evidence? It probably will. It probably will. So what are some other things we have to take into consideration? Well, you have an EMF reader with you? Cool, because there is an old lighting system here, and there are exposed wires. You are going to pick up EMF, and it is not going to be paranormal. There's more on the other side. There are lights and exposed wires going through this entire cemetery. That is really going to cause a problem with your EMF readers. So I would tell you to leave your K2 meter at home, because you're going to be picking this stuff up. I don't know what the inside of this church is like. I don't know what kind of equipment they've got. I don't know if they've got a camera system. I don't know anything at all about this church. I also don't know anything about this house or that electrical box there. So anything that you do with your K2 meter, you're going to have to take into consideration all these wires and all these old systems and all the stuff that's here, as well as all the people that are in the area and the homes that are behind me. Your K2 meter is not going to be effective here. Anything that you pick up as far as an EVP is sus. Could be wildlife. It could be other people. You have no idea what's going on around you. If you come out here at night, you're going to have some issues. You are directly around the block from an active fire station and an active police station. So you are going to have activity coming from the cops, the paramedics, and the fire department. And boy, are they active in this area. So all of that is also going to mess with your K2 meter. A lot of it is going to mess with any EVPs that you get. Any kind of sounds that you're hearing. Could be animals, could be people, could be just normal wear and tear of the town. Who the heck knows? So is this a great place to investigate anymore? Probably not, unfortunately. This is great if you are a cemetery aficionado. If you just want to come through and you want to document the cemetery, this is a perfect location to do that, because there are some beautiful graves in here. There are some historic graves in here, and there are even some known, at least locally known, names in here. This would be great for an aficionado of cemeteries. If you are running a cemetery YouTube channel, this is not a bad one. Would be a very short video, but it's still not a bad choice. It's not, however, the best choice for a paranormal investigation. Even though it is one of the few in the area that's accessible at night, still not a great choice. This is a very, very active little town. You wouldn't have known that if I hadn't told you. Editing Hierophant here. So I figure this video is probably long enough, and there is a lot of information here. So what I'm going to do is, instead of continuing this, I am going to make this a multi-part series. It'll all be in the same playlist. You can find it if you want. If there is suggestions or questions that you have, feel free to leave them in the comments. You can email me, whatever you want to do. Hit me up on social media. If you like this, let me know. If this doesn't seem like it's going to be interesting to anybody, I'll just cut it off. But I'm hoping to make this a series, because I think this is a really important part of paranormal investigation that nobody discusses. So let me know if you like this. But for now, we are going to go ahead and make this a multi-part series. I hope you enjoyed this. If you did like the video, please like, comment, and subscribe. And guys, I will see you in the next video.